first up, we've got this article from Randy about AI friends are an advanced version of talking to yourself. So, tell us a little bit about this article and why you thought it was worth bringing up.
Yeah, I ran across on Facebook. I kept seeing ads for AI friends about how they're new apps or bots to sort of make your life better. So I started reading articles about that. I was curious as to are these just are they just mimicking what you're saying, sort of like a Siri or a little bit more of a Siri, or is there really something there behind it? And it sort of also brought to mind what's happened at Google recently, where the whole controversy of did their AI become sentient, and is it a thinking or is it actually a live version of AI? But the article that I began reading was a little bit tongue in cheek because it talks about, it has a little bit of references back to HAL and a few of the other movies. And part of its conclusion is that AI friends are basically sort of cheerleaders of yourself, just helping to encourage you to be a better version of yourself. But it got me to thinking, what if you're not the well-adjusted person that we think we are? What if we've had a bad day, or if we've got real negative thought process, or we have real anger issues, and we start talking to the AI? Does the AI encourage us to be better, or does the AI tell us that, yeah, our sort of myopic view of the world is correct, and encourage us to take on a negative view of it? So the article doesn't really address that. It only talks about the positive things, but I thought I'd bring that up and see what other people thought about AI friends in general. And are they good for us, or do they seem to put impediments in our lives?
So, Henze, what are your thoughts on this?
No, this was a very interesting article overall, just because I'm heavy in the metaverse, and there's a heavy implication of AI involved in that. Personally, I have some of the same questions that you have, Randy, in terms of if it starts to analyze some of our bad days and some of our terrible human behaviors, right? And start like, where's the threshold, and who's controlling that threshold on, hey, is this thought that this person, this friend, the human friend that I have, is this a positive or a negative thought? And should this be added, or should this change my view or my perspective and how I continue to interact with that human friend? I'm speaking from the AI's perspective. So it's always dangerous to walk that fine line. And also, are you creating more of a, I would assume, like a personalized AI, similar to like your personalized internet or search browsing history, things of that nature, as opposed to something that was global and feeding from everyone's negativity or positivity, however you have it. But it just begs the question to, like, where's that fine line? Because we have conscious to know what's right and wrong. So where's the conscious being implemented on some of these AI technologies? That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, when I read it, I didn't see it as much different in a way than what's already happening in the background, right? So when you're on Facebook, all of a sudden it starts feeding you ads, it starts feeding you information that really just kind of dovetails with your own like cognitive bias. And I feel like in society that's not a good thing that we've seen lately over the last several years. This kind of polarization where people just they seek out information that reinforces their own ideas. And if that's what this thing is doing, I don't know that that's a great thing. I agree with both of you. I mean, when I read, oh, they never disagree with you, I literally typed in my notes, cognitive bias, because I think, well, look, I think you all know that diversity of thought is very important. And if all you're doing is feeding your head with information that reinforces the thought process you already have without growing them, I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. Now, on the other hand, I could see limited therapeutic purposes, but to Randy and Henze's point, I feel like this AI needs to kind of flip the script a little bit, because I agree. I think there are a lot of people out there that have kind of persistent negative thoughts. And so you don't want a robot spewing back negativity to you. Maybe there's a way this robot, when it hears something negative, can reframe it to try to get you in a positive mindset. And I think that would be a very useful kind of social robotics kind of tool. But again, I think it's really interesting and to see where this goes. And it sounds like this author unplugged from it, right? He checked it out. He learned kind of what it did, and then he was smart enough to say, hey, I checked it out, I'm stepping back. But how many people get sucked into this world and never leave it? I don't know. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think you had a good point there about this is not that different than what we're already seeing. So I would just say it's a different skin on it, right? So you put an avatar in place of, let's say, a Twitter post, because we know there's bots, AI bots on Twitter. In fact, there's a famous incident where Microsoft let one loose on the world thinking like it would be doing great, and within 24 hours or a very, very short amount of time, it was very racist. Right. And so it was mirroring its environment. Essentially, what happens here is maybe it wasn't even tuned to be seeking those things out. Most likely not, right? But subtle things like neutrality. Neutrality could actually be dangerous, where it's just saying, I'm going to go with the post that gets the most engagement. And the most engagement might actually be a post that most people hate, right? It might be a racist comment from somebody, and most people even disagree with it. But because the only thing it's measuring to determine whether its behavior is good or not is that engagement, now it is mimicking bad behavior. So we kind of see this on YouTube. The search algorithm is very sensitive, I know, because we're using it a lot more, and we're trying to measure our channel growth. And some of the things, if I watch the wrong video to just get an idea of what something is, all of a sudden my feed is filled with garbage. So garbage in, garbage out. I think there is also bigger questions that are posed by this, where maybe this level of interface, having an avatar that you're talking to is kind of even more engrossing, more enrapturing, and then people will give it more weight to what it's doing because of that kind of skinning on it. So I don't think you could avoid these things. I think it's a natural evolution. I tried to get like a VTuber set up for today just to kind of show how you can put an avatar in place of even me as a person. And those are very popular now. Some of them are their own stars on YouTube and Twitch. So, and also I think for people who don't feel secure in their looks or don't feel insecure in who they are, that these tools will actually be great options for them to find a different self online, be a different self online, and be more of their true self. So you combine that with AI, though, and it's going to get messy real fast. I think we're going to have to just figure this out. It's not going anywhere. We're going to have to kind of rewrite the rules of the road for human interaction.
I would love to hear... I was going to say, Mike, I'd love to hear Randy and Henze's thoughts on this, because I feel like we're already doing that too much in a way, like hiding behind all these different masks. And I don't know that that's healthy for society. Like, we've seen in the last couple of years with COVID, especially with the kids having to stay home, everything is online. Like, it's really hard for them to engage in person. I mean, we would make jokes before COVID, like, oh, you see these kids at the table, like they're just texting each other across the table. But at least they were across the table, and they would eventually look up and talk to each other. When you can hide behind some kind of an AI mask and an avatar, and because you're not happy with yourself, how does that ever improve you? Like, you need to get out and like actually see people and like work on yourself as a person and like with other people. I don't know. I'm going off on this, but I'd love to hear Rainey and Henze's thoughts before we go to the next article. Yeah.
Right. Go ahead, Randy.
I agree. I think we got to have more personal interaction to really see how we respond and relate to other individuals. And I've been a big Westworld fan, so seeing how the AI that we're going to be interacting with an AI and giving an AI our personal thoughts. And it's not even, it's a private company, and again, we have the whole data stuff. Who gets that information? and what are they going to do with it? It's a lot different than having an imaginary friend who only that imaginary friend knows what's going on. This friend is going to be taking your information and putting it someplace. So I just think it's you compound the whole challenge of, is it really an interaction if you're just talking to a computer AI? And the second part is, where does that information, what you told in secret, does it really stay in secret? So it's a lot of open words. I wanted to test it out, but then I was thinking, I don't even want to open up the box to find out. So I've just kind of put it at arm's length.
Gotcha. So from my standpoint, I look at it a little differently, right? It's already happening. It's inevitable. So let's look at ways to kind of combat some of the negativity behind it. Because at the end of the day, generation after generation, it's like we're taking a step back from one another and going more digital. And yeah, just like how you stated, Dawn, before COVID, yeah, they were just texting one another, but now they're just getting online and, kind of doing the AI trick, like you stated, with not even showing their real faces when they do talk to one another using one. So, what are the ways that we can get everyone kind of back together, but still using some of the tools that they're familiar with? Because do understand, these kids, they grew up with this, right? They started from young with this. We have a different perspective, and my generation is probably the last dying breed where we did go outside and play with our friends. And video games was kind of introduced as, just an alternative, but it was always more fun to go outside and play with your friends. But now it's reverse, right? So at the end of the day, if they are going to enter into this world, it's inevitable. How can we provide them a safer alternative or a safe space to do it in, or get them back out with their friends? I thought the whole Pokemon Go thing was a cool concept, but that obviously led into some other things, right? And also the last point is just more so with the data point. Who's controlling all of this,
Yeah.
right? Who's building all of the apps that is controlling everyone's data? At one point right now, we have the ability to kind of unplug a little bit, but if we go full metaverse, right, like the movie, you really can unplug. If your work, your play, your activities, your interactions with everyone is happening within this one medium, and you're, taking your data with it. So that's another conversation on the types of apps that are being utilized or built out, and what's being done with the data from there. So it's a lot of questions to be asked, but I think we could have these conversations so we could kind of steer the boat in the right direction.
Yeah, and
Hopefully.
I definitely think they are important conversations because if the majority of your life is online and online is considered public space, you could talk about the private company owning the data, but what if that private company gets hacked, even if they were trying to responsibly hold your data? So I think we're going to see people push more and more. They they they're voicing it now, but if your entire life is online and you are totally vulnerable and the metaverse or whatever, let's say some virtual aspect of you actually becomes important to real world success, even more so than it is today, we're all going to want that security because otherwise we're totally vulnerable to exploitation. And that's kind of like my biggest fear for this stuff. But